There we go.
Yeah, I see it.
You should. There we go. Now we're live.
Oh, cool.
Okay, we're gonna have to rewind.
Okay.
Okay. Welcome everybody, and welcome to this COVID-19 discussion tonight on with Mel and Charlie. And let me get my thing set up over here. Anyway, tonight we have Representative Val Okimoto. For those of you that left and came back, you already know. But for those of you that are just joining us right now, Representative Val is a Kauai girl and moved to Oahu now and is a representative at the State House. So, oh, here we go. We're back on. Thank God. Jeez, we're gonna. Okay, see who pressed the ballistic missile alert button. See the comments that we gotta deal with on this thing. It's our friend Tyson. Okay, we're back. We're back. I think we got it. You know, let me just tell you. Charlie, stop. Charlie, when Charlie laughs, he makes everybody laugh. You know.
Sorry,
when I just changed my computer. That's why, and it's a much better computer. But I think it was just a connection. Hang on while I start my watch party. If you guys, all of you that are watching right now, share this and start a watch party. We want to get this message out. We're going to talk about some interesting things tonight. And again, thank you, Val, for being with us, Representative Okimoto. And if you could introduce your staff one more time.
Yes,
I'm sorry for that breakup, but go ahead.
No problem. Thanks again, Mel and Charlie, for having me back on. I got my shirt today in the mail. I feel like I'm joining the Mel and Charlie club now. So thanks for that.
Oh, there you go.
I see it in the background, so thank you. I wanted to introduce my staff, and if the two guys on the screen that you see, if you can raise your hand when I introduce you. So my office manager is Jamie Shadell. He's right there. And then our senior alleged analyst in our research department is Eric Kamanu. Eric, the other guy. And I wanted to share a quick story before. So these two guys, I met them in 2018, right after I got elected. And I have a kind of a funny story. So I got elected. I worked my butt off. I mean, until election day, I was walking door to door, get elected, and there was no break. I for some reason, I had no idea I would actually have to start working like in the office right away. So I go to the office, nobody there. There's no furniture, no artwork, nothing. It was just me. And by, the grace of God, I guess, I get Jamie. So these two guys come and interview. They came and interviewed for my office, and I never met them before, and they can probably tell you their sides of the story. But we had other people come and interview, but I ended up choosing these two guys, and it's the best decision I made, since being elected. So I'm just grateful for these two. I brought them on tonight because they've been, with me since getting into office. And some of my colleagues on the other side, they told me when I got in, they like, you don't have an office manager yet? And most of them didn't have a general, race election. I said, I just got elected like the other day. I gotta figure out what I'm doing. So I'm grateful that these two guys have joined me. So you're gonna hear from them tonight, and hopefully they can share some insight.
Okay, good.
Awesome. They're not even smiling though. I mean, is that like?
I didn't force him to come on here.
Yeah, you forced them. And what's on TV tonight? Are you missing your favorite show? I hope you got a DVR. We're gonna make it fun for you guys tonight. We got some, we got a lot of things to talk about. And again, people press the share button, start a watch party.
Hey, Mel.
I gotta plug this in real quick.
Before you go on, Mel, you know what this reminds me of, Mel? Our brothers there on the screen, what it reminds me of is back in the days in the police department when we're questioning one suspect. It looked like suspect.
Mel,
hey guys,
Jamie,
just have fun tonight.
Mel, Jamie and Eric want that shirt.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you know the story, but real quick, the mayor was on. Our mayor was on. He's been on several times, but he was on one night and we were talking, and he was kind of serious. It's a serious topic. And as we got towards the end of the show, we're talking about people that just have a hard time following the rules. Remember, Mayor Kawakami was the one that coined the phrase "COVIDiots"
Right.
early on. That went nationwide. And the night on our show, he said he changed it to doodle boys. Nobody wants to be a doodle boy, so stop being a doodle boy. And all of a sudden, all the comments came up about a T-shirt. Let's make a doodle boy T-shirt. Kirk Korea, Island Athletic Tees, went ahead and designed it, and that's the shirt, and we're selling that shirt as well. and that's has already outsold the Charlie and Mel shirt. And the whole goal was to raise money for Hawaii Community Foundation. We're up to almost $4,000. We're gonna go for 5,000, and we're gonna stop the sales, and then we're gonna make the donation. It's gonna work out absolutely
Noble
fine.
cause.
So
Thank you.
that's the story of the Doodle Boy shirt. Now the other night we had Tina Yamaki, and she called them Okole Pukas. And again, everybody started commenting about the Okole Puka shirt. Well, there's no more Okole Puka shirt. I'm sorry. I'm exhausted selling these shirts. And so anyway, with that, a lot of interesting things going on, Val. And I know you got a lot of things to talk about. I really want to hear from you about what's going on right now with the this whole quarantine issue. The fact that I think the discussions are, we had Bob McDermott and Gene Ward last night, and they shared their concerns about opening up without adequate testing and contact tracing. And we're all concerned about that. And so I kind of wanted to get, just hear your perspective on that. And as well as the prisoner release program. I know that's a top hot issue with you and a lot of people here. A lot of our viewers have been asking us questions. So with that, the floor is yours.
Okay, so you asked first about the quarantine.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good, topic to start off with.
Yeah, so we've been in how many weeks now, guys? It's been what, 8 weeks? 6 weeks now?
7 weeks. 7 weeks.
It's got to be almost 2 months. It's got to be almost. You can tell by my hair. It's like, geez.
And I think for us as well, because we get, and Jamie can attest to it, he takes most of the calls to my office, the emails. So there's, for the most part, I think my constituents have been respectful, but there are some, and I think as the weeks have gone by, people are getting restless. And so my dilemma has always been to reconcile that the public safety, our culture here, how we treat each other, but also not completely killing our economy. And that's always been, for me, it's at this point, I feel like we need to open up slowly. We need to have a better plan of how we're going to do it. Because if we open up, drastically, we can see from other states at this time that they've opened up and the relapse is worse and the economy may not come back from that. So while I feel for those people who want to go to the beach, right? I mean, my girls, till today, they're like, we want to go to the beach, mommy. And I know you do, but we gotta do it, when it's the right time, because we can't just hang out at the beach. So I understand, the public want to open up everything, but I feel like we need to have a proper plan. And we definitely start opening up to our residents before we welcome the visitors in, which is another hot topic. So maybe Jamie and Jamie takes most of the calls to my office. And so chime in.
Val, I don't think anyone in this state doesn't want to see us open up. I mean, everybody wants our economy to come back, but everyone that I know of is concerned about what's happening. Everyone's concerned about for some reason, the apprehension to doing a lot of testing, contact tracing. I mean, we've heard a lot of excuses over the last couple of months from the state about, for whatever reason, testing is not the answer. The answer is social distancing, and testing does nothing for us. It's a snapshot in time. And yesterday when they came out with that cluster at Camp 4 housing,
I know.
And now, I don't know if you heard about that, but I'm sure you did. But it was the media that contacted Camp 4 housing to let them know. Hawaii News Now was the one that contacted the management. Management contacted the Department of Health. Come to find out, they had known about the cluster for 2 weeks.
2 weeks, right?
And no one from the state administration, and when I talk about the state, I'm talking about the administration, not the legislative branch, not you folks. But no one thought it was important enough to let the public know that we had a cluster. They had not even gone to the community to share that this cluster had occurred, that there were, it's up to 7 people in that cluster, but they never made it out. And Bruce Anderson talked about that it was a difficult thing to do. There was a language barrier. Again, just excuse after excuse, but that is the problem. That's what causes the distrust. That's what causes the fear. How accurate are those numbers that we get every day from the state? And when something like that, when a reporter actually uncovers a cluster, that's troubling. So that is what causes, I think, the the stress amongst the people when we talk about moving forward, opening up based on the numbers that we have, because we cannot even trust the numbers that we have. So that's just kind of my.
Well, let me ask you a question of Val and her staff. Okay, right now, I guess in the real simplistic terms, I'm going to say this. We're pretty much scrubbed to the bare bone. So I guess Honolulu, well, let us use Kauai, for example. We know where the virus is. It does not exist. We've been incubating 4 weeks now, and there's not been one pop-up. So therefore, we know it's going to come from the outside. It's either going to come by ship or it's going to come by air. So our thinking here was, hey, open up Kauai as long as the boogeyman don't walk amongst us. You test the boogeyman. If the boogeyman is clean, he can come in. That's the only way we can look at it. But I don't think the governor gets it. Well, what's your take on that, Val? Does the governor see this, or, I mean, it seems almost blind.
I think a lot of this whole time, and Jamie and Eric hear me almost daily complaining about the common sense of decisions being made, and I totally agree with you. And I think we have to take that rational, island-wide, but statewide too. Before we open up our borders, it has to be that they come in here cleared before they travel in, because we have that luxury. Like, we're not going to have people driving across state lines we can control what comes in, just like you can control what goes to your island. So I am in, when you hear about the not testing, and I don't agree with that. I do feel like we need to test, but we also need to be prepared, and we cannot. I don't want to because I think tourism is getting a bad rep right now. We will have to return to tourism at some point, and we can't discourage, or we cannot have this stigma against tourists, but we want the responsible tourists to come in, and it has to be done properly. So again, you guys chime in. I val out a lot.
Kauai, you guys did it right on Kauai, and the leadership with your mayor and your council has shown that no new cases on Kauai for at least over a week now.
4 weeks.
4 weeks. So something's working there. You can slowly reopen. You're reopening your beaches. Living on Oahu, bigger county, the mayor got on television today and he basically scolded the governor. He says there's still people coming in here. They're lying at the airport, and then they're going less than a mile down the road to Ke'ihi Lagoon Beach Park, and they're checking in to the homeless shelter that the city has set up over there. And that wasn't intended to handle tourists or people from the mainland that don't have homes to go over there. It was meant for people on Oahu to have safe shelter to protect them. So obviously what the state is doing isn't working for Oahu. It looks like it's working when the flights are flying into Lihue, because you don't have that much anymore. But on top of that, it's the kind of reactive responses that you get from the fifth floor, instead of, hey, well, look into it or we'll help you find an answer for it. It's like, oh, where's the proof? Show us the proof. Saying, oh, it never happened. He's just making stuff up. So it's really frustrating when you have strong leaders on the neighbor islands. And, I don't want to criticize the fifth floor, but, it's just kind of reactive couple days after. And then, okay, DK or Mayor Kim, you can go ahead and open up this or that. So it's frustrating, and people are starting to get frustrated in our communities.
Let me just say real quick, we on this show, we don't, the intention is not to bash anybody. The intention is not to criticize. We're very opinionated people, but we are using the information provided to us. That's if you get a cluster, report it. If you have positives in a district or in an area, let the people know. And this is what they do everywhere else. So it's hard. I wish they did something good so we could praise them, but it's not working right now at the airports. We know that. And even though on Kauai the numbers are low, we got a lot of people coming in and staying at Airbnbs or vacation rentals, which are illegal. And our cops are doing a great job, but these guys slip through the cracks. Which one of those people are going to be the one to spread this virus? That's the concern.
Right. I want to say, I think, I definitely agree with you, Mel. Your show definitely is not in any way critical. It's just what I feel, and I think, Jamie, Eric, and I are on the same page. We all here for the people. We're trying to help the people of Hawaii. And when we see that a decision is made that's not going to help our people, or in fact, it's hurting the people, then we speak up. And so I thank you for having this as a platform to voice our concerns and have this dialogue.
Hey, Eric, what's your take on this, Eric? I see you hiding in the corner there.
Okay. So this whole thing is super new to me. So I'm trying to figure out, like, oh, how do I jump into the conversation? Like, when does that happen? Like, do I just say something and then accidentally cut someone off? But
just say something. And
okay, well, it was good because I like listening to the conversation and like see where the discussion is going first before I jump into it and start saying things. But a couple things came to my mind while you guys were talking. One of them was like, if we're going to start bringing in visitors, I absolutely think there needs to be testing in some form or another. If anything less than just a peace of mind for the residents here that people are coming in or being tested. I think that means a lot. Three issues that I see is the current testing. It does take a few days. So if people are going to fly in, we have to, I guess, quarantine them until their test results come back. So until we have a surplus of those 15, the really rapid response tests, I can't remember how long some of the fastest ones are, but
it's like a day or something.
Until a day or some, hopefully we can get some that are less. And if people come in, we can get results quicker. That way we don't have to, if people come in, we don't have to track them down and quarantine them and use all this man power and workforce to try to quarantine them. Another thing is, I think a lot of discussion is like, oh, well, can we test people? Are we allowed to test people? Are there interstate commerce laws with testing people and not letting them in? And I'm not going to make a direct comparison here, but it did occur to me. When I first moved here and I wanted to bring my dog had to go through like a crazy amount of clearance for rabies. and he had to get quarantined for months before he could move here. So I think there is some sort of discussion that could happen and not like, oh, well, we don't want to keep trying to push the Constitution into this to figure out if we can or cannot do this at all.
Well, here's where the dilemma comes in. I've been saying this, and we had this discussion, with the LG. We had this discussion with Dr. Miskovitz, and like that one person that came to the airport, right? The only symptom he had was the fever. The fever triggered the fever triggered the COVID profile. So he takes a test. He goes to his house to quarantine. When the test comes back positive, that quarantine is no longer a quarantine. It becomes an isolation. But he's not isolated. That's the problem. Right. Because when he went from point A to point B, we know he stopped at other places. So, to keep a quarantine strict, it has to be down this strict guideway, and nothing can move right or left until everything is cleared. Because all the quarantine does is it's a stepping level to the isolation level, if it goes that route. Or quarantine and nothing. You go back free. So like going back to what Val said earlier, I strongly believe our visitors got to come back, but they got to come back untethered. And how you do that? They can't be unencumbered by all these restrictions. That's why I like what Ed Case is trying to do, and that is test them over there, leave it at their home site, and then come here and then enjoy Hawaii.
Right.
But right now, I don't know for what reason our state, but somebody's just scared to pull the trigger and make the decision. And you won't know, and Mel always says this, and us being as ex-cop, you won't know until you make that first case and you test that case. But when you talk about safe and healthy health and safety for the community, I think you got to make those kind of decisions. You have to.
I agree.
Yeah. And that's these departments, DOT, the DLIR for the unemployment, these departments and their workers, they are working hard with the resources that they have, and they need to be commended. But even with the testing, you tie into the contact tracing that they're talking about, and some people are kind of concerned with that. But then I look at it as you need the contact. It's not about that person or that's tested positive. It's about the people that person came into contact with, right? And those people that can give it to their families or to their friends or to their coworkers and whatnot. So it has to be a what you guys are talking about earlier, what the lieutenant governor recommended, that's a solid plan that they get tested on the mainland first. If it's negative, then hey, you're more than welcome to come to Hawaii and enjoy it. We welcome you. Please come back. We need your money and your aloha to be back here.
His plan also had
So
for
the-
those who try to sneak around that, but if they come in and somehow they don't get themselves, then they're mandated to do that quarantine. But we want to attract those who are going to abide by that, because like Jamie said, we want to welcome those who want to follow our rules, because we got to keep our residents safe. That should be priority.
You know, the HTA, HLTA, all of those guys came together with this Aloha Later campaign. They spent money, they put those videos all over the place. It was a great campaign, basically saying, don't come now, wait, when we're ready, you guys gonna be rewarded with so much aloha. But I want to go back to the case that the guy had the fever at the airport. He came from Arkansas. That's about 10 hours in an airplane
Right.
with people, with
Yeah.
crew members, with airports, with coming in contact with people at the airports, and at the gate, and then back in LA, and then to Honolulu. So he gets the scan, boom, they give him that rapid test. He gets tested on Monday. I guess they got the results back on Tuesday. Now nobody knows where he went to his house. He came to visit family and friends. He didn't stay in a hotel, which makes it even worse, because now you're quarantining with people, with family and friends, and then he turns out to be positive. What I'm curious about, I was talking to Charlie about this today. I know we're having problems with contact tracing, but I was just telling Charlie, and it's in jest, but yet the more and more I think about it, I think we're going to do this, is Charlie and I will go out and investigate all of these people that have tested positive. I want to know how intensive is our contact tracing. So I'm going to put it out, Charlie. I'm going to volunteer your services, but anyone out there that has
I will volunteer your services.
positive or know of someone that tested positive, please send me a private message in Messenger. I want to contact them, and we're going to do our own little research to find out how many people were actually checked on. This guy may have stopped at 7-Eleven. He may have stopped at Times or whatever you folks have on Oahu, and to pick up some things. Again, that's how this stuff works. Yeah, in Korea, that one guy, right? They were all good, and then they opened up. The guy went to one nightclub one night. Out of that, 80-something positives, and that's going to grow. But that's all it takes, and that's why the complacency of our Department of Health director and the governor is frustrating, and it's scary to me. It is, because we all have loved ones.
Yeah, you guys are going to bring back investigative journalism for us. I think that's
Well,
exciting.
yeah.
You're going to trust us. Might as well bring back some good
we come from the
investigative.
old school. We come from the old school of investigators, so I'm not sure if that's appropriate for investigative journalism. But
Did we
but
have
I know somebody needs to do it, and they're not doing it. And I hear of the excuses. When I heard him say yesterday that the average contacts from a positive patient is 5.
Oh, got to be higher
I'm
than
sorry.
that, guaranteed.
I'm sorry.
First place I go after I get out of the airport is restaurants. So
Zippies
It's just, I mean,
or Homura's on Kauai.
Well, remember, gang. Here's where the problem lies. What you just said. You go to Zippies, they will not tell, because they keep on saying it's HIPAA. They will not tell where the person may have been, because that person will give a name if somebody was with that person at Zippies. But if you're sitting back to back by a booth or whatever it may be, or standing in line, right? They don't know that person. They do not know that person. So what's going to happen is, unless they put the word out that number so-and-so who tested positive was at Zippy's this date, this time, between this time frame, we can police ourselves, because we can say, hey, we were there, so we better watch out. We might get infected, right? But they don't put out that information. That's why nobody will know at all. And this is the kind of stuff that when we're in a situation like this, it makes things even harder. Because I think local people, residents here, we're pretty savvy enough to monitor ourselves if we're in danger or not. But you don't give us any information. It's tough to go by it. It's tough.
I think that's the frustration.
I'm a little apprehensive about a little bit of that, just because I see when like things come up and it gets posted on like certain Facebook threads. I don't know if I can name drop certain things on this show or not, but and then you start getting locals investigating things get nuts so fast sometimes when that happens, that I would be a little bit apprehensive about that at first. Policing our own to some extent. I think providing information is a really good idea, but I don't think taking it into our community's own hands to go out and do this stuff.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if it was found out that they were at Zippy's at this certain time, and I was there, then I'm going to tell myself, hey, I'm going to quarantine myself because I could have been next to that person. I don't know yet. But see, up to this point, I would not even have that information, knowing that he was at Zippy's. So it's like a pie in the sky up to the point. It's not for us to go out and, grab the person. It's for us to know that, say, hey, if we were in that area, we better take account of our own self, and we got to quarantine ourselves, because there is a possibility, because like they say, studies have shown, when you're in a closed area, you can even get greater infection because of the circulating air, right? Within an enclosed area. So that would kind of be helpful. But until that point, we don't know if we were in an area where the individual was. We're not asking for names. We don't even know where he lived. If he went to Times Supermarket on this date, hey, there's a possibility I pass him. I don't know who he is, but I think I better quarantine myself now. Something like that, but not go after the person.
You scared him when you said self-police. I saw his face like, oh my God, this guy's nuts.
Just gonna
hungry Hawaiian. You get the guy with Zippy's last night.
No, God, no, please. Yeah, but I think they do it everywhere else. I think that you just got to know. And that's why I'm so pissed off about. And by the way, you can say whatever you want on this show. I saw the little girl earlier, so I kind of got to restrain myself. But
sorry, I kind of keep her away from me.
No, bring her in, get her in the screen, man. Have her sing.
That one is okay.
Have her sing a song. No, we welcome that. But everywhere else, like this thing today or yesterday with the cluster, the public, that people in Camp 4 housing should have been made aware. It's not a HIPAA violation. Gosh, you're not giving out the name, but you're letting them know that's your housing.
And that's what's frustrating about it, right? Because when they had the Hep C outbreak, hey, if you're at this restaurant, you need to go and get tested or whatever. And then it's just kind of like, you guys did this before, and all of a sudden, the system is broken. Now we need to get this contact tracing program set up. So just something isn't adding up. You guys are absolutely spot on with that.
Well, I will give you
I think it'd be different.
My assessment. My assessment is, some people may be sick and tired of hearing it, but I'm going to say it again. From day one, from the day that announcement was made for the mandatory quarantine, which was going to start in 5 or 6 days, the focus was on the comfort or the convenience of the visitors. It was very clear. It was very evident when the governor made that press conference. He had not one medical personnel with him. He had hotel, Hawaiian Airlines. He had all the visitor industry people that worked with him to come up with this brilliant plan that we're going to do this mandatory testing. I jumped up and down. I was so excited. Then he said, we're going to start them in 5 days.
I know.
Because we don't want to inconvenience the visitors that come off the plane and find out they're stepping into a quarantine. Like, really? Okay. So from that point on, though, that's why I look at this whole thing. And again, Charlie and I, over 30 years experience each in investigations, maybe we're kind of cynical, but you look at the numbers. They do not want the numbers to go up. That's why they was never supportive of the widespread testing, because they knew the more you test, the more you can get numbers. We want to keep our numbers down because we're afraid that if our numbers get too high, it's going to impact future tourism. And that is a horrible, dangerous direction to take. But there is no other explanation. If somebody has one, let me know, because I cannot for the life of me figure out why we want to get an accurate snapshot of where we are.
Yeah, no, I think point, we've had to stop tourism. You know, like you said, my sister's a flight attendant, and you know, Hawaiian Airlines wouldn't let her for some reason wear her mask at first for the longest time because it doesn't look good to the tourist. But I thought the same thing. I'm like, you're on an airplane closed off with these people. You cannot risk it. She has young children at home. So it seems like the industry, as well as I guess our governor also at the same time, took a while to understand that we got to protect our people. It cannot be about the outside. Sorry, we have to protect our people first. Yes, we have a low spirit, so we want to respect the tourism industry. But in them doing so, look at where the tourism industry is now. We've had to stop everything, and now it's slowly coming back. But you've seen those numbers in other states where they open up rapidly. That's my concern. We're going to open up everything at once without any type of system set up, and then the outbreak will be even greater. But I agree with you, Mel. I mean, ignorance is not bliss in this case. We need to know the numbers. We cannot live in.
How do you treat the issue if you don't know what the cause is? And you're young. All of you guys are young except for me and Charlie. But
Hey, wait. You said the word cynical, right? I'm glad you said cynical because I thought I heard senile. I went, hey, wait.
if you remember after the hurricane, Kauai, Iniki, I mean, many of us was thinking, man, we'll never recover. The tourists will never come. They're not going to come to a bus up island where damaged properties. But you know what? They came.
Come.
And they will come. They will come back.
Yeah.
When it's ready, they will come back. And hi, sweetie, what's your name?
Hi. Say hi.
What's your name?
Emma.
Emma?
Emma.
Nice to meet you, Emma.
Hi, Emma. I need $5 from you. You're picking up our airtime, Emma. Easy.
But again,
Emma.
the fear, we're so dependent on tourism and the fear of, that's the only thing again I can think about is that they just are so concerned that if we, regardless of what the death rate was, or they just don't want that number to grow. And the only way you can keep that number down is by not testing. And I can tell you, day before yesterday, someone asked a question in the comments. Day before yesterday, they asked, how many tests has Kauai done so far since the beginning? And we had, up until 2 days ago, we had tested 1,600 people. That's 2 months, almost 2 months, 1,600 out of a population of 75,000 plus a daily population of a tourist population of about 25,000. Remember when it started, we still had a lot of tourists here. So have we tested enough? Not nearly. Are we testing enough? No. But
Hey, Mel, what about that? I think something that I was just looking at one of the questions here, but it struck a nerve. What is your idea on the early release program for the prisoners there? Because you're talking to 2 ex-cops now, so we're going to be the ones going to tell you they should have never done it. But what's your take there, Val?
So I always go to, again, these guys, and I call them my policy gurus. And so sometimes I come to them with these questions. I'm like, this makes no sense to me. Why are we releasing prisoners? I don't understand this. I was pretty upset. We did a letter. Who was it to? It was to the judicial really early on, because again, as a mom, as a former teacher, as a person with common sense, that made absolutely no sense to me. We were arresting people for sitting on the beaches, but yet we are saying we're going to release the prisoners who are convicted criminals and put them on the streets. And I couldn't understand it. And it's been frustrating for me, actually. And I think when I did a post the other day, because then allegedly one of these criminals took a man's life. They're out in the community. Now we don't know where they are. We don't know what they're doing. I for the life of me, I cannot understand the reasoning behind that. I don't know where that idea came from, but it's not the right concept. I will use nice words, it's idiotic in my part.
I'm going to take this opportunity. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, the concern is valid. I think the valid, okay, yeah, if there's an outbreak in a prison, it's going to be a big problem. But releasing, that was not even remotely close to a solution. That was just, it felt like a knee-jerk reaction. Like, oh man, if there's one outbreak, we're going to get blamed if a whole bunch of prisoners start dying in our care. So get rid of them.
And I haven't heard
when you look at the
cases.
issue, go ahead.
I said, have you heard of any cases? I haven't heard of any cases that came from the prisons of COVID cases.
Zero.
No, not
No
here.
cases in
So
the,
that's
in
why
the-
I don't
Oh,
understand.
cases the criminals have been committing after they get out.
Yeah.
You know, we have had a problem with, and you know this, Representative, we have had a problem with overcrowding prisons. We've had that whole big situation on Maui, the riot, the millions of dollars in damage. We have jail guards that are, or prison guards that are, or correctional workers that are filing grievances, and you know, it's a big mess. So this is, again, this is my analysis of what happened. They sit around that big core table in the governor's office and they say, hey, this is an opportunity. We can alleviate the overcrowdedness and we can use COVID as a justification. It makes sense. You think about it. It really does make sense, because I go to the prison. I still work. I work for the prosecutors now. I have occasion to go there to interview defendants or witnesses, whatever. And it is not anymore. I mean, we've dropped the population down, but pre this release, yeah, it's crowded. But then you analyze the justification, right? And you start thinking, all right, we have a secured facility of the jail, right? It's secure, it's virus free.
Right.
We set up one wing that if anyone comes in, you quarantine them there so you can isolate any potential viruses. Again, remember, they're not putting people in jail. So I'm not talking about ones coming in. I'm talking on that's already there. So that's the safest place for the prisoner. Safest place.
Right.
Now the judges are letting them out, and most of them are being ordered back when the issue is resolved, when this crisis is over. So you're going to put them out in an environment that they could actually contract the virus. You're taking them from a safe environment. I'm just talking about the virus now. Taking them from a safe environment, putting them out in the open environment where they're subject to this virus, knowing that they're going to have to come back at some point. And then that's the first issue. The second issue is exactly what you said, Val. You're taking convicted criminals and placing them back into society with no proof of residence, no job, no vehicle, no way to support themselves. And I'm speaking generally, not in every case, putting them in a position where they're really doomed to fail. So I don't get it. I don't understand it, but that's what we did. And it's, again, frustrating.
And the public should be so upset. I mean, the police department, I'm sure, is exhausted trying to follow, you don't hear. I want to know what happens with these guys. Do they, after we let them out, where do they go? Do we keep track of them? And have we kept track of the rate of crime that's, happened since they're being released? There's a lot of them out there right now.
I can tell you one incident of a family member who did not want their family member to be released, but he was on that list. He got released, and he just raised havoc on Kauai until finally we had to resort to calling the prosecutor as well as the police department. Said, hey, because he's not adaptable, because he's been in for a while, you just cannot put him out there. And we know of some that have served time wanting to go back in because they're more comfortable on the inside. So there's this whole social display that's coming up here. And the thing that strikes me, and I kind of want, and I want Eric and Jamie to chime in what I'm about to say, is that there was no hesitation in pulling the trigger on releasing these guys, right, when this thing started. Health and safety. But yet there's this problem with pulling the trigger to keep our state safe. See, so there's sort of, I see there's sort of an inequity here. On one side, you said, hey, people that was raising havoc in the state, put them behind bars, but now you let them out. But now we get on an issue with health and safety. We gotta take our time with this. So
Well,
how you guys do?
it's just like you're spot on there, Charlie. No hesitation to release them, but they can't even enforce the quarantine order, right? So they arrest these people. They're supposed to go back to the hotel room, but where are they? Right back on the beach, and they get arrested again. Same citation, but we're just gonna send them home. For what? They're gonna send home. They're not gonna come back for the court case. Doesn't make any sense. But we can't put them into prison unless they committed a serious felony like a murder or something like that. Then we'll book them into KCCC or one of the other jails. You're absolutely right, Charlie. That's people should be more frustrated about that, especially with that incident that you mentioned. The family didn't want him back home or out on the streets because they knew he was going to raise havoc.
Yeah,
Eric?
that's why you really appreciate you stepping up, speaking out, because it's tough. I know it's not easy when you guys just reading some of the comments right now. There's a couple of people that have basically are justifying the release, and understand that. I mean, there's some validity to what they're saying, but again, if there was a problem with overcrowdedness and they wanted to deal with it, why don't you deal with it when the problem was, do what you needed to do to deal with the problem. Now to use this as a reason, because the reason doesn't make any sense. It does. You're taking a perfectly secure inmate, safe from the virus, and you're putting them in an area where they can get it. I just don't understand it.
True, and you like you said earlier, they control. There's no in and out without being controlled. So the health of them, the safety of their health was completely secure there, whereas on the outside it's not. I think my concern also was, I think they initially, I think it was your island, right? Kauai? You guys were the ones where your prosecutor was proposing it, but then ours kind of took over also. But they mentioned the non-violent criminals at first, and then it's like, oh well, now we don't know who actually is being released. What kind of crimes have they committed? There's no accountability. There's no record of what they're doing, who's being released, and that's such a big concern for me as a parent. Even just I hear that it could be sex offenders, violent criminals. Why are we okay putting these people out on the street prematurely without having a safe place for them or without a reason, and putting them back into our communities that are already struggling because we have to deal with all the effects of COVID-19. So it's very frustrating and alarming.
Now, the your fellow legislators, what have they said about this program? Because I'm sure there's problems happening all over. I mean,
there's opposition. There's opposition to the release on both sides of the aisle. Some of the majority leadership is opposed to it. I think they sent a letter to the Chief Justice or the Special Master about that. A bunch of people from both sides of the aisle sent something to them, saying, "Hey, we're not comfortable with this." Honestly, I think it's something more, not necessarily sinister, but behind the scenes, that certain projects that the judiciary and some of these prisoners' rights organizations, or whatever you want to call them, have been pushing for no bail types of cases where, if you commit a crime, then we're not going to set bail for certain crimes or whatnot. But I don't think they really look long term in the kind of burdens that these kind of early release programs or pretrial release programs have on society, but more importantly on police officers that have to go out there and, this guy skipped bail or missed a hearing, and now in their contempt of court. So now the sheriffs or KPD or somebody else has to go after them because they miss court. But in a situation like this, right? We released them, we caught them. What are we gonna do? Just release them again? So I think because certain things haven't been implemented, we fast forward, if we got a magic ball or something, they're gonna see, it worked during COVID-19. It was only X number of percent of people that recommitted crimes that were on probation or got released before their trials. So hey, it was such a small percent. Fine, let's implement it. But what do you tell the family of that person that got murdered because that other person got released?
And I think that brings up a valid point where we so focused on the prisoners that we forget about every one of those prisoners. There's a victim. There's a victim somewhere in our communities. There's a victim, whether it was a theft, a burglary, an assault, a rape, a robbery. And I think we're not taking them into account. I know there was a case on Kauai, violent assault, left someone permanently damaged and paralyzed, partially paralyzed, and that person was released early because of this COVID thing. And that lady, the family posted on Facebook, and it's heartbreaking. And I know Justin, when he was on the show, he talked about, our prosecutor, Justin Kohler, talked about the discussions to start releasing prisoners, nonviolent, people that had already served up majority of their term, started to ease the population problem. But since COVID, the defense attorneys or the public defenders will submit a list. All their clients are going to be submitted.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to get a shot. And the good thing that the special master did was he ordered all the sentencing judges. So the judges that were familiar with the cases were going to be the ones that would decide whether or not these inmates get released, which I think was the smart call, because you want that judge who's familiar with the victims and the families and the evidence and all of that before you start releasing prisoners. So I think that was a smart call. But I also believe that some of these people are being released that should not be released. And that's the ones I think, Val, you're concerned about. That you go explain to the family of the person that was murdered. Try explain the justification of what was done. It's just, it doesn't work.
Absolutely.
It doesn't work.
That's, yeah, I kind of agree with you more, Mel and Charlie, on that. It's frustrating again. It doesn't make sense to me. And I'm not, I didn't serve in the police department like you guys did, but I know that you guys must feel for your colleagues that are still working and sacrificing their lives every day to go out there to protect the communities. And now we got to worry about these extra people placed back out there, and they are committing crimes. That's the sad thing. We don't have any way to monitor what they're doing.
Well, let me ask you a question. How do you folks feel, with this all-encompassing COVID, going from the prisons to contact tracing and all that? How do you folks feel about utilizing retired police personnel in working the screening process when people come in, as well as the contact tracing? Because it seems, based on what Anderson and the team has said, that they got to hire 300 more. They got to set the curriculum at UH to have the training and all that. Mel and I was just talking about this. There's some people who have the gift of getting information from a person, and there's some people that got to really work hard to get the information from people. And I think that's where we're at. Because based on what we saw from your colleagues over in the Senate when they did that visit down at the airport, was just watching the interaction. It almost seems like people get on script, but either they wasn't keeping to the script or they wasn't forceful enough on the script to get information from the people arriving. And that's where it seems to be the puka right now. Is if they're going to go that route, is how do you make it foolproof? I mean, nothing is ever foolproof, but at least you try to get 90% or more of it. How's your feeling about using ex-police personnel, retired law enforcement, to do that?
I never heard that suggestion before. Are the retired police interested in doing that? Are you guys ready?
Some of the comments we got, they said, "Hey, we're game," because it's something right up their alley. Because like what Mel said about the contact tracing, if you don't ask the right questions, you'll never know where the thing went, and you got to be able to do that. And part of even a rookie cop, when you're trained in recruit school, they taught how to ask certain questions because it triggers an individual's response. You got to know what questions to ask.
That's a good point. I know that when the Senate went to the airport, I saw it on the news that it was pretty discouraging to see how easily people just avoid or evade or get out of the questioning and they just go. So I never thought of that. I've tried it. That's a good question. What do you guys think?
Well, I did make a formal suggestion to Senate President Kochi and Senator De La Cruz to look at, $50 million for contact tracing was just released. You could bring back, no benefits, contract. You hire these retired cops, and I'm not applying. I'm just saying there are many retired cops that have the interviewing skills that could get this done without training. My God, I mean, these guys, just what they do.
Yeah.
And it would your money would go a long way. That's just what you got to do. It's going to be hard to train someone that's not that doesn't have that kind of background, because you're just going to get a checklist. They're going to ask you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you very much, and next, without the prying. Let me just do a little experiment, Representative Okimoto.
Okay.
Let's say you on what is today? Today is what? Thursday?
Thursday.
Yeah, the 14th.
Thursday. Okay, so let's say Sunday you had a fever, you got a test, and maybe you had the fever for a few days, and Monday they call you up, said, hey, you got to isolate. You're tested positive.
Okay.
Now, do you remember where you've been for the last 14 days without any help in putting? And that's why I suggested putting together a checklist with triggers that would trigger you. Did you stop at the pharmacy? Did you stop at the pet shop? Did you stop? Because it's hard to remember what you've done in the last 14
I forget
days.
why I go from one office to the other sometimes.
That's my point. That's my point. So
like, what was I
there
doing?
is some skill required to get in there and get, but they don't do that. They don't do that.
I've always was interested. I think one of the senators in the committee hearing was trying to get an answer about. I think it was Moriwaki was trying to. What is the procedure for contact tracing? So like at step 1, where is it, and to the end, what's the entire process in there? And if we knew that, then okay, well, if we're going to hire 350 plus or whatever it is people to trace it, what extent or what part of the process are they going to be mostly involved with? So I think I like the idea of having retired police officers do it, because they'd be able to do the part where the heavy lifting is going to need to start coming into play, right? Directly talking to one person, where there could be a huge group of people who could just really just like, okay, well, he went here, 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 and here, so we should deploy people to go talk to them. I mean, I feel like there's a good way to expedite a lot of this contact tracing through working with both of these ideas of these trainees and retired police officers. I think they could be really beneficial to what you guys are trying to accomplish.
And I say police officers retired only because you got a cadre of them.
It should be easy to set up because the positions don't exist, so it's not going to conflict with HGA or UPW. You already have them trained. The money's there. All you have to do is set up the positions, make it temp or an 89-day hire positions, so it doesn't affect pensions. And you don't need to train anybody. You got retired detectives, retired investigators that know how to get the truth out of somebody or twist, ask the right questions to get the answers that you need to make sure, hey, this is where you were at. Okay, check the box.
And for the most part, I think most people that test positive are going to want to be honest. They need help remembering. Now you come across a visitor who obviously doesn't want to be truthful, because then it'll show that he violated quarantine. Those are the ones that are going to be tougher. But I use police only because like I said, there's a whole bunch of them that's out there retired. Now, I'm not insinuating that only cops can do this. Somebody posted about HR, but available resources right now that can come in, hit the ground running. That's what I'm talking about. You don't have that kind of resources. HR, everybody's working. Everybody's either working from home or they're working at the office, and that is just a pool of people that would be willing, able, and could do it, and could be brought up to speed relatively quickly. That was my only
good idea. Good idea. And we need
I
those
think
good
it's a great
ideas
idea.
right now. Yeah, we need those ideas to help us move forward. We cannot stay in this, rut forever.
That's it's been 2 months.
Yeah, I know.
It's been 2 months.
We need a better.
That's what I mean. That's if you. I don't know what they do. I don't know how hard it is. At one of the shows, I thought, give me and Charlie 4 hours. We'd have this damn thing solved. We'd have the checkpoints. We'd have the checklist made for the people at the airport, and if 4 hours we could get that done. And I'm not joking. And it's not because we're geniuses. It's because it's not that difficult. You set up the checklist. If as long as you doing what you're supposed to, and you're passing, you keep going on that line. If not, you go to the next line. But when somebody cannot tell you where they're going to be staying, or you cannot verify where that person is staying for whatever reason, you cannot leave the airport.
That's not acceptable. Yeah, it shouldn't be acceptable. That's not acceptable right now.
But they are.
Yeah.
They are. In fact, when the senators did that site visit, they were not even they were. Do you know what they were verifying? The people's cell number. That's all they did. Is that your cell? What's the number? Okay, thank you very much. Aloha. they weren't verifying the accommodation. They weren't verifying. And the bigger problem is these guys coming in with a one-night reservation with no intention of staying in a hotel for the remainder of their trip. So again, not very difficult to
those are the two letters. I told Jamie, I said, I tend to not put myself out there, but those are the two letters that came from out of our office, was the prisoner release and the tourism and the quarantine by the governor. It's just not working. Whatever, I'm not sure, whatever his plan was, it's not working. We cannot just trust that they're gonna go to some place and quarantine themselves. They're not doing it, obviously. And so,
well, I think, right now, and this is for many of our viewers, I think why it's important, why we bring guests on like yourself, because you're in that interconnecting bubble. And yet we know you're not at the top where DOH is at, because they seem to be making all the decisions. But like for us, you're in an interconnecting bubble that somehow can see things filtering back and forth. And that's why I want to bring you folks on, because you can let the viewers know that, you folks see what the media releases, but I'm in it, and this is what we're kind of stuck with. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it even goes to the point that when you get General Hara making a statement, and it's like, oh, we cannot play in the same sandbox because they're not listening to me. So you had to go ask the governor to put pressure on the DOH to give them the contact tracing program. That in and of itself was like, oh my God. If he's the head of COVID response, right?
He's the incident commander.
COVID response. He should get things carte blanche because he knows what direction to take. But it didn't come across that way. And we feel bad, but yet who pays? Who pays the price? It's the community. It's the citizens like you and me. We pay the price.
Yep. That's the frustrating.
Well, I know it's 8 o'clock, but we started late thanks to the technical error. So if you guys don't mind, we hang on for a little bit because we just okay.
Eric, we haven't heard from you, Eric.
Yeah.
What's your take,
okay.
Eric?
What's that?
What's your take? We haven't heard from you, so we kind of like you chiming in as well.
Oh yeah, it goes fast, and I like to process things and like think about it. Maybe I think about it too much, and then I always have this weird habit of playing devil's advocate, right? So I like when you guys say these things, I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe there are reasons why certain things are being done this way. Not that it's the right thing to do, but you can take some from one thing and take some from another and potentially make something really useful. Like how you were saying with the DOH and using the University of Hawaii and retired law enforcement officers, like that it could be a really solid working group. So I think I'm having a lot of fun listening and then trying to figure out when to jump in. is what's going on.
Nothing wrong with being the devil's advocate,
Yeah.
Listen, I don't believe anybody is doing anything maliciously. I don't think the governor is sitting around his big table saying, hey guys, how can we screw the people of Hawaii today? Hey,
I hope not.
No, I don't think
would that be better though? Maybe because then there would be a plan, right?
No,
rather than
I do believe that his priority is tourism. I believe that his priority, and again, we can agree to disagree. His priority, in my opinion, watching this thing very closely for the last couple of months, is really geared towards opening up the state for the tourism, because he's got to deal with paying the bills. He's got to deal with putting this budget, which is going to be in the billions, that he's got to figure out. So I understand. So whether you agree with him or disagree, I don't think it's malicious. I just think that his priorities, to me, is not right. I think the public health and safety always should be the priority. The part that bothers me, and again, not malicious, but what is it? Is it incompetence? I don't know. How can you not put together a plan in this time, all this time? How can you not put together a scale of the triggers of what's going to happen next? Okay, so like the president's 30-day plan or whatever it was you had to have 14 days of declining cases before you could go to phase. Okay, now where's ours? Do we have a plan? At what number do we open phase 2, phase 3, phase 4? And at what number, if it should spike, do we start scaling back? There's none of that. There is absolutely nothing in a plan that can give anybody any kind of sense of comfort, knowing that we're ready for whether the numbers go up or the numbers go down. That is, I think, what's troubling for me.
Yeah, the budget is totally, that is some, I like what you're, I don't want to blame anyone, right? But it's almost across the board, right? So they're trying to get the budget done now, House and Senate, and it's taking a lot of time because they can't get straight answers from anyone. Or the House will get another one answer, and then the Senate will get another, or the administration will say one thing, and then a director will say another, and then we have to keep going back and forth. Like, hey, what is it you guys actually need? Does DOH need $500,000, or do they need 3.5 million? Like, which one is it? Can we figure this out in an hour instead of a week? Is that possible?
You're talking about the plan, right?
I'll give you a real good example of how the people think. A lot of people don't know who the governor's chief of staff is. They just watched that one episode, and our board just lit up. They said, Uncle Charlie, who the hell is that person? Just by the way she was responding to the Senate committee. And then it was sort of classic because Favela is so honest to a T that that's some of his fault because he's a brother from Halbush, you know what I mean? And basically said, hey, we were elected, you was appointed, we trying to get answers. And she did, and the tactic she used, I term it as like Muhammad Ali, rope a dope. You just stay back against the rope and you just keep on throwing up punches and you're gonna get tired after a while. And that's what happened. She let them tire themselves out by not even responding. And to get people lighting up the board and giving those kind of comments, and they don't even know her, that kind of says something. And I hope the governor picked up on that, but it doesn't seem like he did. So
doesn't seem like it. Even for us, we get thrown into, and I take these comments about elected officials to heart now that I'm in office. Whenever I get thrown into the stereotype of all you elected officials don't know what you do, and I think we're trying so hard in the legislature, we really are, but we have limits to our what we have jurisdiction over. So it's a tough battle right now, because my heart will always be with the people, always, and these guys know that. But it's hard when decisions are being made above us or around us, and we don't have that the jurisdiction to change, and we're left out of the loop. So it's been frustrating. This whole process for me has been frustrating because I want to do more, and we haven't, like you said, I work linear. I work with a list too. Like, we should have a checklist. How are we doing? And it should progress, or if it regresses, we move forward. But because it's just everything is just all abstract right now, it's really hard to really see how we're doing, to really itemize everything and quantitate everything. It's difficult for us to see.
Okay, Val, what tool or what negotiative tool does the legislative body have, both Senate and House?
What tool? Gosh.
Yeah, what tool do they have as far as negotiating with the administration? Because it seems like at one point everything came to a stalemate. Nothing is moving.
Well, we the budget.
Yeah, so that's what I'm getting at. Can the budget, you put the screws on the budget, would that shake some trees upstairs, or?
Are you referring to like obtaining answers wise, Charlie, or?
Just making them move off their position, because it seems like their position in some of the things they've done, it didn't make sense, right?
I think they're being more responsive now. I'm hopeful. The Senate did allude to that a couple weeks ago. It's like, hey, if you really want us to do this, we do have the authority to subpoena you. We can send the sergeant at arms upstairs or to one of your departments and arrest your department head and compel them to attend. The legislature has that authority. I've never seen them use it, but Senator Dela Cruz did allude to that. But I think they got the message, and they're slowly getting the answers. Okay, this is how much we're gonna need at the airport for the thermal scanners and whatnot. This is how much we're gonna need at DLIR to make improvements to the unemployment system. So the information is slowly coming out. I think they're still working and see, okay, what positions can we do without so that we can cut costs and make sure that and in, it kind of ties in what the governor did, right? He basically called the legislature out. He said, we're going to cut everybody's pay except for teachers and first responders. This is going to be 10%, but everybody else is 20. And then the legislature was like, we're not going to go back into session. And then all of a sudden, well, guess what? The legislature's back in the session. And what does the governor, I think, say today or yesterday? Oh, we don't need pay cuts anymore. So, politics in the background. I think that's the most bold, Eric can expound on that or what the governor did. But I think the administration is trying to work with the money committees now too.
Now, yeah. 2 months.
But Mel, what you're talking about earlier about this plan, right? They've been talking about this color-coded plan for 2 weeks. We get a news release saying we're gonna have a press conference at 2:30 yesterday to talk about our color-coded plan. They don't say anything about it, about reopening or what happens if there's a surge in cases, and there was supposed to be this plan, and nothing about it today. So kind of just scratch your head.
I was on a council for 12 years, and it's similar. Your legislative branch, you don't have the authority. In the county level, you don't even have some of the stuff that Donovan guys were doing. On Kauai anyway, you cannot do that. You cannot direct department heads to do anything. But it's almost disrespectful what I witnessed in some of those Senate hearings. The whole issue on the subpoena, I was flabbergasted when Donovan said, what are you telling me? We got to get on subpoena? And she goes, yeah, maybe you should. Like, really? I would issue 5 subpoenas. If I was the chair, I'd issue 5 subpoenas. And I just don't understand why they're so, again, secretive. And that's not just to the Senate committee. It's to the public about so many things. And I'm not saying this to brag, but I won't even say who, but somebody called and said, we get our information from you guys' show. We get more information from you guys' show every night than we do from the press conferences at the state. And, of course, we bring people that know what's going on. But at the end of the day, the people are hungry and starving for this information. And there's nowhere you can go. There's no website you can go to figure out what goes on. And, if you're lucky, when they go live with their press conferences and you're available, you can get it. And it's just frustrating. A lot of people are frustrating. I did want to, I know it's 8:12, or I keep looking to the clock, so I want to respect you guys' time, but I did want to get in a little bit about the unemployment, because that is another situation which baffles me. If you work somewhere, let's say you work for the state or the county, and for some reason the computer system went down and you couldn't do your payroll, the county or the state would have their finance departments, their payroll departments cut checks to pay their employees. And that's just what would happen. They would have to pay manually, not really manually, but somebody's got to go in and punch in the amounts and calculate. And so these guys will get their paychecks. We have people that have not been paid, and it's been almost 2 months. Granted, a lot of people have. Remember, they celebrate. These guys, somebody said today, wow, I feel like I won the lottery because they answered my phone. They answered the phone. She was so excited because she finally got through. This is almost 2 months, 2 months without income. And that is where I believe the state should have paid these people the money. And we're so concerned about what if they don't qualify. Okay, I understand all of that, but we got to give these people money to survive. I don't know how some of these guys are surviving. They haven't received any income at all. They may have gotten a stimulus check, maybe not, but they're expected to pay their bills. They're expected to go out and survive and feed their families with no income, to no fault of their own. And all I hear from the state is, we're working on it. We're working on it. We're working on it. And we're sorry. We're sorry. I know how you feel. No, you don't know how they feel, because if you did, they would have gotten their checks already.
You
If
know,
they knew how it felt to go without a paycheck for a month, this problem would have been solved a long time ago, in my opinion.
it's true. I'll turn some time over to Eric, and because Eric actually volunteered at the unemployment what is it called, we're at the convention center. But I wanted to just say in what you're saying, Mel, about not people not understanding. You know, I watched the news and actually seen some of these lines where people are lining up, and whenever I see those heartbreaking stories of people waiting for hours, you know that this is such a unique situation, like no other, where people are waiting for hours, just waiting to get some kind of food, um, resources. I was able to volunteer in my community with the Hawaii Food Bank, but not to the extent where these big ones were there as island wide or, you know, community based. But this has to be, that has to tell our government that this is not a normal situation when people are waiting in line and in their cars. And then the sad thing is when they get turned away where there's nothing there, or you see the volunteers and how emotional they get just seeing the lines of cars waiting for them. My heart goes out to these people, because it does break my heart that we have not, for whatever reason, we were not equipped for this. The system wasn't even set up properly before all this happened. And when this happened and such, you know, all this unemployment came about, it's again, it's not right that we have not been able to provide. Maybe I'll let Eric chime in, because Eric, Eric's been at he volunteered there, and Jamie has dealt with a lot of unemployment issues through my office. So I'll let them kind of chime in.
Yeah, I mean, where to really start? It's incredibly frustrating when so before I went and volunteered, I was getting calls from my friends and my family. They're like, "Hey, I need help filing for unemployment. What's the best way to do it?" And I had never had to answer that question before, so I went a couple times and went through to go set it up for them, and we couldn't even get through the very first part, like file your initial claim, and we couldn't even get that done. When we finally did and we started filing, we sent it, and the only thing we ever got back was like, "This is what you're eligible for." So I thought, okay, well, you know, they keep saying they need help, there's not enough manpower, and I was offered the opportunity to go over there and help them. And when I got there, I felt like I was helping, to be honest with you. I don't know how much detail I can go into, how much what kind of work we were doing there. Um, but at the same time, I can tell you a lot of the issues that we were getting was people um, making minor mistakes on their unemployment claim, minor mistakes that shoots them to the back of the line and has to go through this process of us clarifying what your employer said, or what the state has on record, and then clearing that up. And it never felt like it was enough. I mean, I would walk there, I would get there 5:30, 6 in the morning, and over there on the side of the room is just stacks of boxes of unemployment claims. It was daunting. Like, well, I don't even know how we're going to get through all that. But you kind of just put your head down and you just start doing it, because you know people are hurting, and then you start getting the hang of it. And I think that's when I started going back to, you know what, I kind of understand what they're looking for now. So like, let's go back, let's refile when we can get in, which was still a problem, and let's do it perfectly. Because if it's perfect, then the only way you're going to be disqualified is if you weren't initially eligible. And then doing that is what Mel said. Like, maybe we shouldn't really care how much you're eligible for right now. Maybe it being a month now that you haven't been able to pay your cell phone bill, you haven't been able to pay your rent, you've been having to go sit in a line at Aloha Stadium to get food. Maybe this isn't the answer. Maybe the answer is these people need money now, and we'll figure out what to do afterwards. Because it's going to get to the point now where, I mean, the frustration is just going to get worse and worse and worse when you talk to people who are like, I had to sit in line for 3 hours just to get some eggs. So, you know what, that this isn't a sustainable way to do it. I think the stimulus check that came from the federal government was more useful than trying to call 300 times in a day to try to get a straight answer to the simplest problem ever, just so you can get something, so you can pay some bills. It's baffling to me. I don't want to blame anyone at DLIR, the system, because the issue that the state is having is happening in so many other states, where their systems were just behind to their mainframes were never set up to be on the internet, which is crazy. Like the internet is older than I am, but it's really frustrating, and I completely agree. Maybe we should just give people money right now, and we can cover it later with whatever we get from the CARES Act and stuff like that.
You know, I'm sorry for what I'm about to say, but you know, I hear what you just said, and yes, that's been echoing. You know, you got to give people money. But what this tells me is, because of this pandemic, what it caused is that it almost seems as if, you know, it's like security guards. They're the lowest on the totem pole because, you know, hotels will hire a security guard if it's a contracted firm because they can pay them cheap. But security guard, we know, they're like insurances, right? You pay your car insurance, you don't bat an eyelash, but you're glad you have it when you get in a crash, right? Because if you didn't have it, you'd be stuck. The biggest thing I take away from this whole pandemic that the economy has to look at is, I don't think this state really looked at an investment in an updated UI system, unemployment, because they never thought it would.
Oh, they did. They were working. It was a state. It was Minnesota or Michigan. One of those states. They were actually working on a partnership program where they could integrate their systems and build off of each other. And something happened where the can was getting kicked down the road because the state didn't want to spend a certain amount of millions of dollars to upgrade the system. It kept getting kicked down to where the partnership between the two states ceased, and we couldn't pursue it anymore.
Well,
so
but
there was attempts to do it.
Yeah, but it kind of goes to the
This
point
wasn't
that,
a priority.
Yeah, it kind of goes to the point that, you know, when you get one gut shot, all you can do is just hope you can get back the air in your stomach, you know, or in your chest, because you're gonna curl over. This thing has caused, you know, it's sad when you got people, they don't have money, you give them food and they cry because, you know, they've been working their whole life and they never thought they gotta really bend down low to accept something like this because they've always found a way to make a living. This was one of those times that everything got shut off and all they want is just that little breathing room, and we can't even give them that properly. So, you know, you talk about dignity. It's probably taking some of these people and brought their dignity down to bare bones. And you know, it's frustrating. It's hurtful. I mean, my wife, she, you know, we're in this thing on the west side, you know, passing out food all the time. And you can see, you know, it's helping. But like you said, how you pay your utilities, how you pay your electricity, all those kind of things are real. And I think, you know, desperate times, people going to resort to desperate measures. That's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm worried about.
That's the sad thing.
Quick shout out to Ron Kochi. It was Idaho. Those things for the catch.
You better watch what you say, because Kochi is on every night, man. I tell you, if I misspeak, he calls me right after the show and said, "Hey," he's cool though. He texts me and he says, "Call me when you have time." And I know already I'm gonna get scolded.
I'm 300 times more scared now.
Yeah, no, I'm nervous.
To let you guys know that Ron Kochi, when you see me smiling, he tells me when to smile. So I just want to let you folks know that.
You know, I oftentimes think we overcomplicate things. You know, after the hurricane, and I go back to the hurricane because really that's the only disaster that I've lived through. Really, I mean, we've had floods and all of these things, but that hurricane is where everybody was wiped out. Nobody was working. Very few people was working. And you know, I think of all the insurance companies, because unemployment isn't insurance. Unemployment is insurance. All those companies, State Farm and all of those big companies, You know, they didn't tell the people, hey, go on your computer, file one claim online. You know what they did? They sent people, and they set up volunteer tables, and people was able to go up and fill out their claims in person with a human being. And I know that the state had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that were working from home or whatever the case was. And I don't understand, when this first started, we knew, and I call him the geek, I forget that guy's name, the Japanese guy or Chinese guy. He does all the computers. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
He goes on the news all the time.
It's
We're
a
real
computer.
one nerd. He's a nerd. He's a computer nerd. But he told us that the platform for this system is DOS, and again, you know, the connectivity to the internet, blah blah blah. But we knew that. We knew that we were limited in capability. Why wouldn't we have set up the people to take care of these unemployment claims? I'm not talking about when it's now hundreds of thousands of people, but when we started and we knew, we could have got a lot of people on track early by simply what you said. You know, they're misfilling, they're not filling out the thing properly. They're missing their birthday or whatever it is, and it gets kicked to the back of the line. A lot of our people are not computer literate. A lot of our people know more computers. And if we had reached out to them and said, hey, remember, this is insurance. These people are owed this money. It's not a gift.
Mhm.
This money is earned. They've been paying into this insurance for forever. And now, sorry, our computer system not can handle. So you guys, I don't know what you guys are going to do, but we, you know, wait for the federal government to send you $1,000 or $1,200 or whatever. You know, and it's troubling because the suffering is crazy, and every day gets worse. I just feel that state failed, that whole unemployment division failed the people because they weren't able to start. When this all started, simply have a process in place where people could go to the unemployment. Whether you make an appointment or do it over the phone. No, we just said, no, file them online. We knew the computer system no can handle, but file them anyway. And hey, by the way, if you get problems, call. When I heard him say we had only 100, the trunk can only hold 100 people on the phone at a time. I used to fix telephones in a service. My God, that equipment must be freaking old with the systems we get today. So 100. So if you 101, sorry, try again tomorrow. Try again tomorrow. I get frustrated because I hear it from the people, I see it from the people, and I see the suffering. And you know, there comes a point after 2 months, you know, that we're working on it. Just it's not valid anymore. It's not valid anymore. And I'm not complaining to you folks. I'm not blaming you folks. I'm just saying the state, yeah, we never had anything like this before. Okay. Is there a company out there that we could have contracted with? Some high-tech company that could have put together the infrastructure in a matter of a week? Yeah, we may have to pay for it, but so what? The people need the money. Anyway, sorry for ranting.
With the resources that they have, that the DLIR Director Murakami and the ETS office, the head over there, Doug Murdoch, they are really. I mean, you can read people, and I think I got a good read on them, and they really are trying their hardest with the money that they have, the computers that they have to get this done faster. But now that the legislature is in, now that we know what to expect, I think we realize that our legislators need to invest more in that, because this isn't a one-time incident. I think in our lifetime this is going to happen again. Something of the scale. So we know what to prepare for now, hopefully.
Well, we need to
Maybe
learn.
you guys' lifetime, not me and Charlie. You guys' lifetime, you might have me. Me and Charlie, we're on the back 9 already. I don't think so.
Hey! Talk for yourself. Talk for yourself.
Well, we gotta learn definitely from this. We cannot. If Jamie's right, which I may be with you guys. I mean, it may not be in my lifetime either. But we gotta learn. We cannot let this happen again. So we have to be better. The system shouldn't have been so prehistoric that we cannot provide the people what they need, what they're due. It's not right. and we make, you know, it's a sad thing. I talked about people in line, but you know, I even had a friend, a high school friend from Kauai post today that I think one of our classmates, their sons, you know, took his life. I think that's the sad thing. We're not just talking about the physical needs, but the emotional needs of people, the mental health, and in one way or another, we're losing people, and we got to step up. We cannot continue without a plan, without a way to move forward, and expect people to not be affected negatively by it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Life
true.
goes on.
I have people who are friends of mine and people who are close to me who are recovering addicts and stuff, and have things going on, and being stuck at home has been so hard for them. It's been so much harder than when normal, when you know you go out every day to you know to be good, stay on track, you know, do what you need to do, and now you're just stuck at home. It's been devastating for people who are close to me.
Yeah, that's another topic probably. But I just wanted to point out that it's affecting people in in every way.
Well, it
Yeah,
is, and you
I
know,
tell you, I'm at a kupuna status right now because I haven't driven for so long, unless I gotta go to town, that I just invite anybody if they can just drive me. I'll take it anytime. I'll take it anytime. Sometimes I forget what the two pedals are for. You know, I step in on the brake. I say, man, you just lose all track of time. What this pandemic has done is, I was one never to do yard work, but let me tell you, I could really see what weeds look like now because I pay more attention than I ever did before. It is crazy. It is crazy. No, you know, just now I gotta start learning how to clean the bathroom and the toilets. Then I'm gonna be rough with it. Right now, one of these.
you know, Charlie guys, they do a lot on the West Side. They've been handing out thousands of pounds of food and fish, and you know, thanks to Hawaii Community Foundation and some of the nonprofits. You know, I know on Sunday, my wife and I were going out in Papuana on Kauai, the Kauai Papuana League. They're doing 1,500 bentos on Sunday, and we're going to pass that out at 3 locations on Kauai, and that's going to be our first food distribution that we do. And I know it's going to be hard to do. It's going to be tough seeing these people wait in line, knowing that you're going to run out too, that somebody not going to get. And it's only for Keiki and Kupuna, but nonetheless, you're talking about a place in Lihui, you're going to run out. And I dread going, but you know, we gotta do what we gotta do. And it's just,
Hey, Mel.
I just think we can do so much more.
Can I share also, you know, Val, if you know, and your staff, you know, Coconut Wireless has been working great. We on last night's show, somebody chimed in and said that, you know, they had the big food drive at the stadium and places like that. Some kupunas had to catch bus to go there because they don't drive. But when they went there, they ran out of food. So if you hear of anything like that, you can always send us, and we'll connect somebody on Oahu that's part of an organization that can actually go to the house and drop it off for them. Because as much as possible, we don't want anybody to go hungry. So, you know, we want to use this platform, get the message out. But if you folks have anybody, we can put in contact. We have so many branches, and you know, thanks to Senator Kochi, he's been a real big driving force in hooking up with all these different, you know, nonprofits. We can actually hook up with one of them, and wherever, doesn't matter what island. It can be on Kauai, Maui, Big Island, wherever. Just let us know, and then we can help get stuff out to them.
That's amazing. Thanks, you guys, for letting us know. We definitely remember that, because yeah, I agree with you. It breaks my heart to hear of those people who get turned down and after waiting an hour, you know, the line for hours. But that's what I love about Hawaii. You know, we just come together.
This will be my last comment, and then Rep, you can and all 3 of you can basically give your closing comments. But this is a woman just posted, and she's replying to somebody else that said we should have saved money long ago. And she said, I'm disabled. I'm one of those medication or food. Single mom always has to go for food. So this woman is not getting her medication. And that is what the governor got to understand. The governor better understand real soon that this is what's happening. This is one of thousands and thousands across the state. And they better get a grip because this.
It's not right. Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll save you for last, Representative Okimoto. One of you two tigers over there. Hey, by the way, in your closing comments, explain how it's like working for Representative Val. Either one of you can start.
Take it, Jamie.
You want me to turn off her? I can turn off the speaker from here. You want me to turn off her speaker?
No, I just thought it was a representative that got elected from Mililan in Malka, and when I found out that she was from Kauai, I was like, oh, that's even better because Kauai is a special place. My great grandmother or great grandmother is from Kauai, so. But it's been an honor, but more importantly, a privilege being able to work for an elected official, but even being granted the opportunity to work at the state capitol. People just see it as politicians and talking heads and whatnot, but they really do the people's work. Our job is to listen and help out constituents. So it's an honor and a privilege. And then just finally, a huge shout out to the Charlie Troop soldiers from the Hanapepe Armory with the 1st of 299 Cav. Thank you guys. Mahalo. Keep up the good work. Miss working with you guys. But mahalo, Mel and Charlie, for allowing us
Thank
to
you
participate tonight.
Yeah.
All right, Smiley. Your turn, Smiley.
Okay, horse. So
There we go.
I always wanted to work in politics. I wanted to be involved in politics. So when I had the opportunity to not just work for a representative, but work and represent the House, the people, and that meant a lot to me. And the thing that has always struck me about Okimoto is a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us get really involved in the weeds, in the politics and how policy is written. And when you start doing that a little too much, you almost lose a little bit of the humanity that comes involved in doing that. And that's who she is. She is the representative who will always. It's not what's on paper, but it's the people who's going to directly affect. And she just working with her, I've really taken to heart that it's everything you say. It's answering phone calls whenever you need to, and remembering that you're working for the people. So thank you. I don't have any awesome shout outs, but good luck to you're my boy. It's my cousin.
I promise I didn't pay them anything extra to come on tonight. But I want to thank Jamie and Eric. And for me as a legislator, and I'll always make jokes about I'm not a real politician. I'm here. I'm a servant of the community. And I don't know if it's because of the way my parents raised me or what it is. Hi, Mom and Dad again, Dennis and Anita Aquino. And I want to say hi to my sister Janelle too, by the way. But the Kauai kid in me will always come through. And so I'm just grateful that Jamie and Eric came in my path, because I think if it was to other people, maybe they wouldn't appreciate the way I am, because we don't always agree on things. And I don't think the way they think. I always will think like a teacher or a mom first, or somebody from the community. And they've really been able to embrace that part of me and allow me to grow in my position. But I think many times the legislators in that building, you get a false sense of worth or identity. These guys keep me grounded, because I am pretty grounded. And I just want to let people know that without the staff working behind endlessly, we wouldn't be in our positions. I wouldn't be able to do my job well. And so that's why I asked you guys, can I bring these guys on with me? Because they're working endlessly, just to make sure that our caucus is doing well or my office is doing well. And I'll always just be grateful. So it's important for me to always be, my parents taught me again, show gratitude. But thank you to those two. Thank you, Mel and Charlie, for inviting me on again. It's been a pleasure and an honor. As we continue to go forward, I hope that the dialogue will continue. I know that, you mentioned Iniki several times, and we talked about it the last time I was on. I was there for both of the hurricanes, but at this time, I want to just give a special shout out to all the graduates of the class of 2020, because I know that this is such a difficult time for them, not knowing where their futures are going to be. And, you know, in Hawaii, graduation is such a huge thing, a huge accomplishment for them to sort of have their what they envision their graduation to be just squashed right now. You know, I want to just congratulate those people in the class of 2020, and just, you know, encourage them to just look forward, look ahead. This is a stepping stone. It's a tough time, but you'll get stronger. I mentioned before that my senior year was the iniki, or the high school was shut down. We didn't know if we were going to go back to school, but we did. And like you said, we came out of it. So I just wanted to thank, I know that I have a nephew who is part of the class of 2020, Kauai High, where I graduated from, Gold River Raiders. I think my sister said next week is their drive-by graduation. So Brandon Aquino, I want to just congratulate you as well as your fellow classmates, and want to give a special shout out also to the class of the Mililani High School class of 2020. They're having their graduation this coming Sunday. So I want to just express my congratulations, but just let you guys know that this is just the beginning for you. And if anything, although this year hasn't been what you envisioned it to be, you'll come out stronger, and build the character that you come out with will definitely carry you. If you had told me back then that I would be in this position as a senior in high school going through Hurricane, I would have probably laughed and said you're insane. So just look towards the future. But I want to give a shout out to those kids who are having their lives altered by what's happening right now. Thank you again for having me on.
Well, keep up the good work, all three of you. Representative Okimoto, mahalo for your service. We have a friend of yours over here, Rhonda Morris. You know Rhonda Morris?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to read what she said. I cannot say it all because there's a little bit of PG. She said, wait, WTF? That's Val Okimoto? Holy shit! I kept thinking she looked familiar. Never see her since small kid time. Rhonda Morris. Rhonda Morris went to Honolulu today. She came back on airplane. She videotaped the whole process. So I haven't seen the video. She's gonna show me the video later.
Let us know how.
But anyway, real quick announcement. All of you that are watching, and we've had over 200 people tonight live. This will be seen by thousands. Agency on Elderly Affairs, for all of you that are on Kauai, 241-4470, 241-4470. If you need help, call. Now is not the time to be worried about your ego. Call. Get the help you need. If you need food, you need help, let Charlie and I know. We actually have some friends that can help, so let us know if you guys need some help. That's what this is all about. This is the time for all of us to
Can I give one more plug? Sorry, Mel. So can I give one more plug? So my team and I are working because along the same lines of what you're doing. We've done talk stories, come on the show, talk about these hard issues. But I agree that working together, we can help serve others. So I forgot to just give a quick plug. The next week, Thursday, we do it before your show, so we don't interfere with your show. But my team and I are going to be putting on a little talk story with Kelly Boy de Lima, actually, just to spread some aloha. So he's going to come on with me. Hopefully you guys can join us before your show. We don't want to impact your show. So it'll be at 6:00 next week, Thursday, on my Facebook Live. But we're going to talk about how this has impacted his business, but also just spread some aloha. We really want to bring joy into the homes of the people because we know this has been a tough time for everyone. So next week, Thursday, Facebook Live at Rep Val Okimoto. Please join us. We'll
be there. Tell Kelly Boy from Kauai, I know I speak for everybody, mahalo for all their free concerts they've been doing. They've been fantastic. Awesome. The other thing, Charlie, I just thought about this. We can put 100 people on Zoom. We can put up to 100 people. I know it's going to be really small, but we're going to have 100 people. Yes. All you seniors, Kapaa High, Kauai High, I don't care where, actually. The first 100, we're going to set up one show. We're going to have 100. We'll fill up this screen with 100 seniors. We'll have some fun. I don't know. We'll make jokes, sing. I don't care. Yeah. I feel so sorry for those kids, but let's do that, man. Let's do that. Let's have some fun and do that. It is 8:43. I am so sorry. Charles, any closing comments before we?
Well, I'd like to say thank you to our three guests. Thank you so much. Just by looking at the board, there's close to 600 comments that came in tonight during this feed. And I'd like to say thank you. Kauai has always been a special place for me. I didn't know until I moved there. I have my grandpa's sister that was living here, and I haven't, unfortunately she passed away. I didn't get to see her, but I know that feeling. I was deployed to, I was on loan from Maui Police to go to Hurricane Andrew, And right after Andrew, I can just remember being in a situation room in Homestead, Florida, and just watching the hurricane coming towards Kauai. And then when it hit Kauai, boom, I got my orders and I got deployed over here. And that's how I met Mel. So I just like to say to the Kauai folks, thank you so much. But most of all, I hope the viewers realize that, and I know you do, that what we do is we get the information and we share it with you. And whatever you do with the information, that's all for you. We try to dig in areas that sometimes people don't want to share that information, but we're going to get it for you. And when we have special guests like Representative Okimoto, Jamie, and Eric, when we get them on air, listen to them because they got a lot, you know, and you can go back and you can replay this. But listen to what they said, because it will give you a bigger picture of what's happening and how we got to get through this. There are a lot of faults there's a lot of blame to go around, but all we're trying to do is bring everything together and try to see if we can get past the blame game and just do everything right. Sometimes, you know, people might call me a troublemaker. I'll put up a statement on Facebook because I want to shake some trees. I challenge the DOH because I want Anderson I want his tree to be shaken. I want him to realize, hey, you know, in the beginning, you didn't think highly of contact tracing. Now your tune has changed. It had to take somebody, but the rest of the nation, that's the direction they went into. So if we can be a little part of getting the trees shaken to help the people, then I think we'll be okay. Because right now, the big dilemma we face is how do we open up our economy? How do we bring back the tourists? But at the same time, how do we keep our citizens safe? That is the dilemma right now. So I want to thank you, Mel. Take it over, brother.
I'm done, man. We gotta go because it's 8:45. This poor Val get her kids over there and everybody else. You guys still in the office look like, oh my God. Go home. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. What is tomorrow? Friday night, 7:00, same place, same time. Surprise guest tomorrow. They know when I say surprise guest, it means we don't know nobody yet. So I gotta go find somebody tomorrow. You guys have a good night. Take care. God bless. We'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Thank you so much.
Overtime. Aloha, you guys. Love you guys.
Bye-bye.
Aloha.